Alrighty, boys and girls, let's make an answer key for you here. Let's see, linear inequalities. This is the 4th time you've seen this, so I hope that you're super good at it. I'm going to make this bigger so I can draw my graphs better. 1/3 x minus 5. That means I have a starting point at 0, -5, which is her. And then the slope means up 1, right 3. Up 1, right 3. Up 1, right 3. And it is greater than or equal to, so that means a solid line. Let's pretend I hit those dots. If I miss, just make them bigger. It's okay. Now it says greater than or equal. So I said plug in 0, 0. So 0 is greater than or equal to -5. Is that true? Come on, you know the answer. 0 is indeedly doodly greater than -5. So you go there. Then you graph the second one. Many of you will solve for y. So I think what you'll probably wind up doing is writing y is greater than, you'll subtract that x, and you'll divide by 4, and plus 2. You don't have to. I would just plot it directly and write 8, 0, because I plugged in 0 for y, and then 0, 2. But you'll get the same result. It's the same line. If I went down 1 over 2, down 1 over 4, oopsie poopsie. Down 1 over 4, down 1 over 4, you'd get to that same place. It's just greater than, so that means it's a dotted line. And then you can either plug in 0, 0 here, 0 is greater than 8. Or you can plug in here, 0 is greater than 2. Regardless, it's not true in either case, so you have to shade up. So then your solution is where those intersect. So that's all up in her. Because that's where I have blue and red at the same place. And you can hide a smiley face in there. You should do that on your quiz. Hide a smiley face or two, just for funsies, to show us that you actually watched the video. For number 2, x is less than or equal to 6. That's a vertical line at 6. Some of you messed that up on your quiz last week. Be careful. Vertical line at x is 6. And then is 0 less than or equal to 6? Yes, sir, it is. So you go that way. Next one, this. Again, many of you are going to solve for y. So you're going to subtract 2x, and you're going to divide by 3. So negative 2x over 3. And then negative 9 over 3 is 3. So many of you are going to do that. That's totes fine. Down to right 3. Down to right 3. It's solid line still, just like the other one. And I plug in 0. So I can either plug in 0 for here, and I'll get 0 is greater than or equal to -9, or I can plug it in here. 0 is greater than or equal to -3. Either case, still true. So you shade up. Last one. 0, -4 is where we start. And then the slope is 3 over 1. So we go up 3, 1, 2, 3, right 1. Up 3, 1, 2, 3, right 1. And this is a dotted line. So dotted line. And then we plug in 0. And we'll have 0 is greater than -4. Is 0 greater than -4? Of course it is. So we shade this way. And so my answer is going to be right here, where I see black, red, and blue. And again, hide a smiley face in there just for funsies, to show us you watched the video. Next one, solve the quadratic. Okay, so if I look at the topic heading, solving by roots. Root for the home team. So that means all we're going to do in this section is square roots. We gave you that hint. So treat this like a linear equation. Add the 144 to both sides. Divide by 36. And I would stay in fractions. Here's why I would stay in fractions. At this point, I now have to take the square root of both sides, or square root. And you can think of the square root of a fraction as the square root of the top and the square root of the bottom. Square root of 144 is 12. Square root of 36 is 6. Now, I could have reduced 144 over 36, and that would have been fine. Or I could reduce at the end here and say 2. Does not matter. Don't forget the plus or minus. If you forget the plus or minus, you're going to lose a bunch of points. So be super careful. This one looks scary, and many of you want to instantly distribute in that 3. Don't do it. Don't Don't you touch that 3. Leave it alone. Treat it like a linear equation also. Leave this as one big unit. Add the 27. Divide by 3. Take the square root. What do I have to remember every time I take the square root of both sides? Every time, plus or minus. Plus or minus 3. Subtract that 2. Don't mess up that last step. We see that happen more often than we should. And then if you can finish, which in this case you can do a little more, do the problem. So negative 2 plus 3, that's 1. Negative 2 minus 3, that's negative 5. Those are your answers. Here, make a table. You ask yourself, what makes in here 0? Well, 3 makes that 0. So go up 2 from there and down 2. Now you do order of operations. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. Squared is 4. Times a half is 2. Minus 5 is negative 3. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. Squared is 1. Times a half is a half. A half minus 5 is negative 4 1/2. 3 minus 3 is 0. Squared is 0. Times a half is 0. Minus 5 is negative 5. 4 minus 3 is 1. Squared is 1, not 2. Some of you like to think that 1 squared is 2. That's silly. So 1 squared is 1. Times a half is a half. Minus 5 is negative 4 1/2. And then 5 minus 3 is 2. Squared is 4. Times a half is 2. Minus 5 is negative 3. So 3, negative 5. Oh, I'm going to zoom in so I can graph this better. 3, negative 5. That's not 3, negative 5. What the heck did I just do there? 3, negative 5. I don't know how to count. 4, negative 4 1/2. And then 5, negative 3. 1, negative 3. If you don't have a U, you are doing it wrong. So be very careful. You should have a U there. If you know U, then you're doing something wrong. No U? Oh no. Or you can just scream, ah! Factor, factor. So, multiply the first and the last. That is 15x squared. You want to add to that middle term, negative 8x. Beep, boop, 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 boop. That's going to be the numbers negative 5 and negative 3. Minus 5x, minus 3x, plus 15. Now factor, factor. I can take an x out of there, x minus 5. I can take a negative 3 out of there, x minus 5. And then I write x minus 5 in one set and x minus 3 in the other. Next one. You multiply the first and the last. So you do 7 times 64, which is 448. That is a gigundo number. Let's hope on the quiz it's smaller. And you want to add to negative 48. So now you might be crying a little bit, but then you just ask yourself, okay, what numbers will work? Well, you could pick 1 and 448. That's not going to work. So do 448 divided by 2. That's 224. Do 448 divided by 3. That's not a whole number. Do 448 divided by 4. That's 112. Divided by 5 doesn't work. 6 doesn't work. 7, 64. 8, 56. 9 doesn't work. 10 doesn't work. 11 doesn't work. 12 doesn't work. 13 doesn't work. 14 works. 14, 30. If you see the answer, you can stop at any time. 15 doesn't work. 16 works. 17 doesn't work. 18 doesn't work. 19 doesn't work. 20 doesn't work. 21 doesn't work. 22. Oh, I'm done. Can't find any more. So now I need numbers that add to 48, negative 48, and multiply to negative 448. So I see them right here. Psst, make that a negative. So 7x squared plus 8x minus 56x minus 64 equals 0. Group, look at those two and say, I can take an x out. Group, look at those two, and I can take a -8 out. And then you go to your parentheses, and you write, ooh, that's a funny looking 7. Whoopsie poopsie. 7x plus 8, and x minus 8. So you write 7x plus 8 equals 0. So x is -8/7. You write x minus 8 equals 0. So x equals 8. Those are my answers right there. Next one, completing the square. It says up here, completing the square. We don't know what the quadratic formula is yet. Well, we may, but we don't necessarily know what it is yet. But we know completing the square, so I'm going to do that on this. So I have x squared minus 10x equals 60. I don't need to do anything to get a 1 in front because I already have a 1 in front. So now I'm going to split that middle term. X squared minus 5x minus 5x equals 60. I'm going to need to add 25 here to make the pattern work. 25, 25, everywhere. Factor x minus 5. And you can skip this part. You can go right to the parentheses and the squared if you're comfortable, but some of you are not. So I'm going to write it out for you out of the kindness of my heart. What a good guy. So as I said, you could jump if you wanted to, if you were bold. You could jump directly from here to here, but you don't have to. If you want to go through those steps, you're welcome to do so. It's not going to hurt you. Take the square root of both sides. Don't forget it. What are you not going to forget? Plus or minus. And add the 5. If you forget plus or minus, whoa, not good. Square root of 85 is not a nice number, so donezo. Same idea here. 79 plus 6 is 85. So, hey, 85, I had that in the last problem. You're going to split that middle term and square it. I'm going to do this one a little faster just for funsies, for those people that maybe want to. So then you do 85 and 49, which is 134. You're going to factor the left side here. Again, if you want to show these steps that I did here, you can. It's not going to hurt you. It is totally fine. Take the square root of both sides. When you take that square root, what do you have to remember? You're going to forget it. You got to say it out loud. You got to remember that plus or minus. And then add that 7. And that's your answer. You might not recognize that that means two numbers. That means 7 plus the square root of 134. 7 minus the square root of 134. Those are two different numbers. Because square root of 134 is roughly, it's approaching 12. It's between 11 and 12. So it's roughly, what, 18, 19, something like that. And roughly -4, -5. So those are two different numbers. Good luck.